Imagine you're handed a set of keys.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. So on one hand, these keys unlock a totally standard residential house. But on the other hand, they unlock a 24/7 medical clinic, a full-service restaurant, and like a hotel, all rolled into one.
Which is a pretty massive difference.
Exactly. But looking at the keys in your hand, they might look completely identical. One unlocks a relatively straightforward passive income stream, and the other unlocks this highly regulated, round-the-clock healthcare operation.
And, choosing the wrong key or even just misunderstanding the structural differences behind those doors can completely derail a property investment before it even gets off the ground.
That is the ultimate risk, isn't it? So welcome to today's deep dive. If you've been following along with us, you know this is part of our ongoing state-by-state series where we are comparing special needs housing versus assisted living facilities across the entire country.
Yeah, we're really getting into the weeds on this one.
We are. We're analyzing the mechanics in every single state, and today our focus is squarely on the landscape, the rules, and the opportunities in Arkansas.
And Arkansas actually presents a really compelling case study.
Why is that?
Well, because the state is facing this rapidly accelerating demand for safe, affordable, and supportive housing across, multiple demographics.
Right. But before we dig into the mechanisms of how these properties actually function in Arkansas, I do want to quickly mention our sponsor for today's deep dive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a big thank you to Flowers and Associates Property Rentals. They specialize in teaching landlords how to stabilize their rental income, specifically utilizing some really targeted rental income strategies. So huge thanks to them for making the state-by-state series possible.
Definitely. And, if we look at the source material we're pulling from today, we really have to start by recognizing the sheer scope of the housing shortage in Arkansas right now.
It's pretty staggering, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, families are struggling to find dependable environments for aging seniors. Then you have adults with disabilities seeking housing that actually affords them independence rather than just, institutionalization.
Right, totally different needs.
Exactly. And then you also have individuals who are actively rebuilding their lives after periods of homelessness or recovery. People who fundamentally just require a stable, secure foundation.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because to really understand the newer, more adaptable alternatives in real estate, we first have to understand the traditional baseline, right?
The standard model.
Right. We have to look at the heavy lift, which is assisted living.
So in Arkansas, assisted living is not simply a zoning classification or a real estate term.
Right. It's way more involved.
Much more. It is a highly scrutinized long-term care model. And it's overseen directly by the Arkansas Office of Long-Term Care.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when you operate one of these facilities, you're taking legal and operational responsibility for what the state defines as activities of daily living.
Activities of daily living. When I hear that, I usually just think of, someone needing help making breakfast or maybe doing some laundry.
Right. That's what most people think.
But the regulatory reality of taking on that responsibility is much heavier, isn't it?
Oh, it's so much heavier. You're managing their medication schedules, coordinating all their transportation, providing round-the-clock supervision.
Which means paying staff 24/7.
Exactly. And developing individualized, state-mandated care plans for every single resident. And Arkansas actually takes this a step further by splitting these facilities into two distinct regulatory tiers.
Okay, I saw this in the notes. Level I and Level 2, right?
Yep, Level I and Level 2.
So what actually separates a Level I from a Level 2 facility? Is it just the physical size of the building or maybe the number of beds?
Actually has nothing to do with the size of the building.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it has everything to do with the medical acuity of the residents and your staffing requirements. So a Level I facility is designed for residents who need general assistance and medication monitoring.
Okay, so people who are generally okay but just need a little help.
Right, people who are physically and medically stable. Level 2, however, allows you to take on residents who require actual nursing services.
Wait a second. So if I open a Level 2 facility, I am directly employing registered nurses.
You are.
That completely changes the business model. You aren't really a real estate investor anymore. You're running a full-blown clinical operation.
You've hit the nail on the head. I mean, operating a Level 2 facility means you are dealing with healthcare payroll, you're managing nursing schedules, and you're carrying severe clinical liability.
Which sounds incredibly expensive.
It is, and it also changes the physical real estate requirements.
Yeah.
You might need commercial-grade kitchens, specialized fire suppression systems, industrial emergency generators.
Like a hospital.
Basically, yeah. And
Yeah.
clinical waste disposal systems.
Hmm.
The state health inspections are evaluating your clinical outcomes, not just whether, the roof leaks.
Right. Operating an assisted living facility isn't just being a landlord. Like my opening metaphor, it's literally like trying to run a hotel, a restaurant, and a healthcare clinic all under one single roof.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
You have to handle the physical building, you have to cook the meals, and you have to manage medications and care plans.
And you are inspected on all of those fronts simultaneously. I mean, you need specialized licensing, extensive administrative policies, and just a massive amount of upfront capital just to get the doors open.
I have to push back here, though.
Sure.
With all this clinical licensing, the nursing staff, the commercial infrastructure, is this model actually viable for an everyday property investor?
That's the big question.
Right. Or is this exclusively the domain of massive healthcare conglomerates with millions in startup capital? Because honestly, it sounds incredibly overwhelming for someone who just wants to generate some rental income.
It's a really critical distinction to make. For a dedicated entrepreneur who really wants to build a healthcare business, assisted living can be highly profitable.
Yeah.
And deeply meaningful.
Sure, if that's your specific goal.
Exactly. But for the standard property investor who's looking for passive, scalable income, it is generally completely out of reach.
Just too much red tape.
Too much red tape, the startup capital is enormous, the margins are squeezed by healthcare labor costs, and the regulatory burden is just constant. You are a healthcare administrator first and a property owner second.
So if the regulatory burden and all that startup capital of assisted living lock out the everyday investor, how are all these standard single-family homes popping up as care facilities?
That's the pivot.
Yeah, like what loophole are they using to house people who actually need support?
Well, it's actually not a loophole at all. It is a completely different legal and operational structure known as special needs housing.
Okay.
And it works through this very strict separation of powers.
I saw that phrase in the research, separation of powers, meaning the real estate and the caregiving are legally divorced from one another.
That is the fundamental mechanism, yeah. In assisted living, as we just established, the business owner does everything, the housing and the healthcare.
Right.
But in special needs housing, the property owner acts strictly as a landlord. You provide a safe, decent, well-maintained physical building, and that is where your job ends.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, a completely separate entity, usually a nonprofit organization or maybe a licensed provider agency or a state case manager. They handle the actual support services, the care, and the daily needs of the resident.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, because that seems to solve the biggest headache for the investor.
Absolutely.
The landlord just gets to do what they do best, manage the building, while the trained professionals do the caring. But let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
If I own the house and someone is receiving care inside my house and they get hurt or a medical mistake is made, who is liable? Am I getting sued because I'm the landlord of a care facility?
That is exactly why the lease structure is so vital here. You are not operating a care facility.
And legally speaking.
Legally speaking. You are leasing the property to the nonprofit organization itself, or you are leasing to the tenants directly with a distinct, separate agreement that acknowledges the outside care provider.
Oh, I see.
So the liability for the medical and support care falls entirely on the licensed provider. They carry the professional liability and the medical malpractice insurance.
And what about the landlord?
You, as the owner, simply carry a standard commercial landlord policy for the physical structure, just like you would for literally any other rental property.
That makes a lot of sense. The legal liability follows the professional responsibility. But how does the funding actually work?
The funding is fascinating.
Because the sources mentioned that this model relies heavily on Medicaid waiver services. And when I hear Medicaid, I think of money flowing directly to a hospital or a nursing home, not paying rent on a 3-bedroom house in Little Rock.
Right. And this is one of the most brilliant but honestly misunderstood parts of the modern healthcare system. Traditionally, Medicaid only paid for long-term care if the person was placed in a licensed institutional setting.
Like a nursing home.
Exactly. But a waiver literally waives that institutional requirement. It allows Arkansas to take those exact same Medicaid funds and use them to pay for care and support services delivered in a standard home or a community-based setting.
Because the state realizes it is drastically cheaper to support someone in a residential neighborhood than it is to keep them in a hospital bed or a massive state-run facility.
Spot on. It is significantly more cost-effective for the state. And honestly, the outcomes for the individual are phenomenally better.
Yeah, they get to integrate into a real community.
They do. So the Medicaid waiver pays the nonprofit agency for the daily care they provide to the individual.
Oh, okay.
And because the nonprofit has that guaranteed state-backed funding, they have the financial stability to secure a long-term lease with you, the landlord. In a lot of cases, specialized housing vouchers are also layered in to cover the physical rent directly.
What's the catch for the landlord then?
Well, it's not a free-for-all.
Right. I assume if the state is indirectly funding the ecosystem inside this house, they aren't just going to let you lease out a rundown property with a leaky roof.
Definitely not. I mean, it removes the healthcare compliance, but you are still operating in a scrutinized space. You have to ensure the property meets strict habitability standards.
Makes sense.
You also must navigate local zoning laws to ensure a group of unrelated individuals can legally reside in the home together. And crucially, you have to comply with the Fair Housing Act.
Which usually means making physical modifications, right?
Yeah, often it means making reasonable accommodations to the physical space.
Mm.
So installing wheelchair ramps, widening doorways, or adding bathroom grab bars.
Right, because you are housing vulnerable populations. You have to provide a physical environment that actually supports their mobility and safety.
Furthermore, you have to be really meticulous with your partnership agreements. You're aligning with nonprofits, so you need to ensure their funding streams are secure, their insurance is robust, and your lease clearly delineates maintenance responsibilities versus care responsibilities.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener sitting there thinking about your own investment strategy?
That's the real takeaway here.
Let's talk about the practical business implications. If you already own a standard rental property or you're looking to acquire one, you might be sitting on a perfect special needs housing opportunity without even realizing it.
The contrast in the barrier to entry is just staggering. To build a Level 2 assisted living facility, you are looking at commercial land acquisition, millions in specialized construction, and years of zoning battles.
Nightmare.
But special needs housing is infinitely more accessible. Investors can utilize standard single-family homes, side-by-side duplexes, or even small multifamily properties.
You don't need a sprawling commercial compound. A regular 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a quiet, accessible neighborhood could be perfectly positioned for this model.
Absolutely. As long as it meets the geographical needs of the nonprofit partner, which usually means it's close to public transportation, grocery stores, and medical clinics, and it has a layout conducive to shared living, it can function beautifully as special needs housing.
This is where the modernization of the industry absolutely blew my mind during the research.
The AI tool.
Yes, we aren't just talking about landlords blindly calling nonprofits and hoping for a match. The Source website highlights an AI real estate consultant bot named Jonathan.
Which is such a game changer.
Now, usually when I hear AI real estate bot, I roll my eyes, assuming it's just a glorified property search engine.
Yeah.
But Jonathan is doing something much more complex under the hood.
Yeah, the technology is stepping in to solve the compliance and feasibility puzzle that used to take investors like weeks of manual research.
Right.
Instead of a landlord digging through municipal codes, this AI tool is capable of analyzing regional Medicaid reimbursement rates, cross-referencing them with local Arkansas zoning laws regarding unrelated occupants, and evaluating property layouts for waiver compliance.
So I could theoretically feed this system the specs of a house I'm looking to buy, and the AI will analyze the local zoning to see if a group home is permitted.
Yep.
And it checks the state's home and community-based service requirements and tells me if the financial model actually works for a local nonprofit partner.
It assesses the viability almost instantly. It basically bridges the gap between traditional real estate analysis and the highly specific, localized requirements of supportive housing.
That is wild.
It proves how mature and structured this niche has become. Investors aren't really guessing anymore. They have data-driven tools to de-risk their investments and partner effectively with these agencies.
Which ultimately creates incredibly stable passive income because you aren't chasing down individual tenants for rent on the first of every month.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. You aren't dealing with the standard turnover and vacancy rates of the open market. You are often dealing directly with established organizations backed by state or federal funding, signing multi-year commercial leases on residential properties.
And you are achieving that financial stability while creating a profound community impact. I mean, you are providing the physical foundation upon which these individuals can build a stable life, fully supported by professionals who actually understand their specific needs.
It is such a powerful reframing of what it means to be a real estate investor. So, to recap our deep dive today into the Arkansas landscape, the state desperately needs both of these models.
They really do.
They serve different critical functions in the community. Seniors who require round-the-clock, licensed clinical support, and constant supervision absolutely rely on the traditional, highly regulated assisted living model.
Right. And conversely, individuals with physical disabilities, veterans transitioning back to civilian life, or those facing other housing barriers, they desperately need the dignity, independence, and community integration that special needs housing provides.
The ultimate question for you, as a property owner or a potential investor, is a fundamental choice of identity.
That's a good way to put it.
Do you want to build and operate a licensed healthcare facility, taking on the massive regulatory weight, the medical liability, and the clinical staffing? Or do you want to be a housing provider, partnering with community organizations to serve people in need while keeping your primary focus strictly on real estate?
Special needs housing simply offers a highly practical, scalable entry point for investors who want to create a tangible community impact without becoming, healthcare administrators.
And if you are leaning towards that second option, providing the housing while letting the professionals handle the care, we have a highly specific resource for you.
Oh, definitely.
The author of the source material we explore today is Robert Flowers. He is an award-winning real estate investor with over 15 years of experience.
He really knows his stuff.
He does. He is the founder of the A+ BBB accredited firm, Flowers and Associates, and he specializes entirely in this exact model, helping landlords earn passive income by partnering with nonprofits.
So if you're interested, you have to read his book.
Yes. If you want the definitive blueprint for how to execute this, Robert Flowers' book, The Joy of Helping Others, Creating Passive Income Streams Through Special Needs Housing, is available now on Amazon. We highly recommend grabbing a copy if you want to dive deeper into this exact strategy.
Understanding the mechanics is the first step, but applying them to your local market requires exactly that kind of structured guidance. The potential to turn a standard rental business into a real community solution is just immense.
It changes how you look at real estate entirely. Which brings me back to where we started.
The keys.
Think about that ordinary set of keys. But instead of imagining what kind of business it unlocks, I want you to think about the ordinary single-family homes in your own neighborhood.
Yeah, think about the quiet houses you drive past every single day, the ones that look just like yours.
How many of those quiet, everyday houses might actually be life-saving havens for veterans or individuals in recovery, operating seamlessly right next door, hidden in plain sight through these exact nonprofit partnerships?
It's amazing to think about.
It makes you realize the profound impact the right real estate strategy can have and what might be happening right on your own street. Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.